Had I communicated this information not following prescribed protocols, I would have been prosecuted and imprisoned. Secretary Clinton, how can you expect those, such as myself, who were and are entrusted with America's most sensitive information, to have any confidence in your leadership as president when you clearly corrupted our national security?
Well, I appreciate your concern and also your experience. What we have here is the use of an unclassified system by hundreds of people in our government to send information that was not marked. There were no headers. There was no statement, top secret, secret, or confidential. I communicated about classified material on a wholly separate system.
All right. I don't know what Air Force and Navy veteran wants to do about this and asking about these kind of questions, but John Lester, if he ever wanted to, would probably make a pretty good questioner at White House events. Very good to have you, sir. Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you very much, Neil. I really appreciate you having me here today.
Were you satisfied, John, with her answer?
I was partially, and I'll explain. She's correct with regard to headers and information that is classified by higher authorities. I think what is confusing and what, if I could have challenged her on her question, it has to do with the fact that it's the content itself. And just because something is marked or not marked, at the end of the day, it's the content. And let me give you an example. I work for a publicly traded company. If somebody were to tell me that we were going to have a very good quarter and they were going to announce the earnings next week, that information all of a sudden becomes confidential. There's no header. This is a conversation that I had with this individual. If I communicated by email, there's still really no header at the end of the day. So essentially what she was saying was that however she transacted with her emails was not in violation because there was no header. Well, the fact is that someone at her level really should understand the content and understand what's sensitive versus what's not. And I think when you get to the root of it, I think really that's where her response to me failed, if you will.
Do you think there is a double standard? I think what you were getting at last night is that yes, you would be in deep doo-doo doing something similar, and she is not. What do you make of that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can give you situations in my career. My first squadron was with the VP-46, and we were doing what's called the three-site deployment, and I was the cryptographics officer when I wasn't flying. And we had one crew, and I'd mentioned this morning, but we had one crew that was in a secret facility destroying the end of the day cryptographic materials, and they had dropped one tape on the floor. My squadron commander, a gentleman named Derek Offer, who I really admired, for 3 days he and I went without sleep trying to deal with the ramifications of dropping one piece of cryptographic material on the floor. We would have essentially, our careers would have been over, and depending on whether there was any kind of intent, prosecuted and potentially imprisoned. And you can see that happening today with a seaman on the West Coast as an example. And it's very disturbing. Honestly, we're Americans. We live under a Constitution. That Constitution, we agree to live together under rules. And those rules should be applied equally across. And here's
but it's been politically played on both sides, right? Republicans say that she's a dope and worse, a crook for doing this. Others, Democrats, say much ado about nothing here. Colin Powell was doing stuff like this. Where do you think it sorts out? I mean, is this the type of thing that should disqualify you for the highest office? Because the Clinton folks seem to be saying you'd be disqualifying a lot of potential White House aspirants who served in similar capacities.
Well, Neil, let me ask you this. At the end of the day, there's a heck of a lot of information that we Americans have been subjected to regarding Secretary Clinton's emails. When you look at that information, by itself, it's pretty indicting, regardless of what we're being told from the other party. And so the question comes down to, is it the crime or the cover-up? I think at the end of the day, it's the cover-up that always gets you in trouble, not necessarily the crime. I think had she been forthright and forthcoming with her emails, I think this wouldn't be the issue it is.
Real quickly, does it disqualify her from the nation's highest office?
I guess you have to ask yourself the question of judgment. When somebody readily transmits our information in the way she has, does that not disqualify them from the highest office in the land?
John Lester, thank you very, very much. And thank you for your service to this country.
Thank you very much, Neil.